Hi, everybody. I am Miss D. Jenkins, and I am the content captain for U.S. History. And I am going to be doing a training on a document that me and my team use in place of the Bridge document that was given at the end of at the beginning of the fall semester by the administration. Me and my team quickly realized that the Bridge document did not work the way we needed it to work. It was not pulling students that we needed. So we quickly came up, well, we didn't quickly come up with it, but I found by using the BOSS document from last year, I made some changes to it and was able to prepare everything so that I could send it to my team, and the only thing that they would need to do would be to add their student ID numbers. By doing this, it makes it a lot quicker, it makes it more useful, and it's got all of the TEKs on the main page so that we can make comparisons. So let me screen share with you guys, and you can see the document that I use. I'll show you the template for it and kind of explain what everything is, and then I will show you the actual document that we use at the end of the semester. So give me 1 second to screen share with you. I'm just going to share my whole screen, and then I will pull up the document. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see this and you are able to see my screen. While I'm recording, it's a little hard for me to see it, so I'm just going to trust that you guys can. All right. So what this is I've kind of color coded everything so that it's easy to see. If you look down here at the bottom, you can see that the colors up here match the colors down here, and that is done intentionally so that everything kind of lines up, and you can, if you forget what the colors are, you can look at the bottom and be able to tell the difference. Now that should be green, but that interim 3 there is not green. Let me change that. See, fun things that always need to be fixed. Y'all are probably like, whatever. Okay, so now that one matches this one. See, it's all together. It all works. Okay. So when you get this document, it will look exactly like this from your team members. What will happen is you will input your student IDs in columns A, B, and C, starting with row 12. You'll just copy and paste them. I use a master roster that has all of my students' information on it. I just copy from there and paste it in here. It makes it easy. However you do it is perfectly fine. Just put your information in there. Once you do that, it will auto-populate all of these fields that have data in them. Now, obviously, you're not going to have snapshot 8 data on week 1 because students haven't taken that yet. So it will only populate the data as far as, you know, you've got the data loaded in. Now, let me explain what this looks like, because right now it just looks like a whole bunch of columns to you guys. So in column D and E, this is going to be the spring readiness and the interim. And this is going to be their overall scores. This is going to be the students' total score. And the reason that you want to do it on those 2 assignments is so that, you know, when you're scheduling, you use the readiness assessment. Well, what you'll want to do is look at a TEK, you know, decide which students you want to pull in for that TEK, and then you may need to look at their overall score to narrow it down if maybe you've got more than 25 students. So that's why you want to look at their overall score for that. Now, if you want to look at overall score for every snapshot, we can add that in. That's not an issue, but that's something that we can, you know, work on an individual basis or on a team basis. Whatever you guys need for your team, I will be happy to accommodate. Now, in these columns right here on row 11, you're going to see all of the TEKs lined out other than overall score. In a little drop-down box, well, y'all won't see it because you don't need it, but there's a little drop-down box that you can click on that's got all of the TEKs. Now, that's on a hidden tab at the bottom that you don't need to worry about. when I give this document to your content captains, it will have the TEKS in there that are covered in USA Test Prep and the way that they are formatted so that you guys have what you need. All right. I only included TEKS on here that will be covered on our spring readiness and our snapshots in the spring. Now, we have in US history about 150 TEKS. That being said, we obviously cannot cover 150 TEKS each readiness assessment. So what we do is USA Test Prep groups them. So what I did is tested half of them in the fall, and I'll test half of them in the spring. Now, there may be crossover, so that's one of the reasons that we have the TEKS here so that we can see what we're testing. What the ideal way to look at this would be, for example, here on week 8A, TEK 8A, I'm sorry, it's covered on the readiness, it's covered on snapshot 1, and it's covered on snapshot 2. Now, the reason it's set up like this is so that you can see the growth between the readiness, snapshot 1, and snapshot 2. Because the students are taking this multiple times, you want to be able to see from the beginning of the semester to when they take the second or third time, you want to be able to see if there's growth, because if there's not growth, then they're missing something and you may need to bring them back in and reteach. You also want to see if these kids are scoring 100 every time, maybe you want to bring them in and do enrichment rather than reteaching. And that's perfectly okay. If you have honors kids and they tend to score higher, you want to probably do enrichment rather than reteaching, just because that would probably be more useful, but it's entirely dependent on what your student population needs. And as you scroll over, these are organized from lowest to highest. Start with obviously TEK 1A, and then we move through. USA Test Prep has 27 separate categories, I guess you could say, for the TEKS. So this goes all the way through 27. These are the placeholders for snapshot 7 through 10. Since I have not written snapshot 7 through 10 yet, I don't know exactly where to place them because I don't know what TEKS are going to be covered. Any 1 week with US history, we may test anywhere from 2 to 7 TEKS a week. So that's why it's so helpful for us to be able to look at the various TEKS that we're teaching each week and make sure that the students are getting it. Now, I tend to do things early, so I've got all of my snapshots already written through the interim. That's why I'm able to go on and filter these, not filter these in, but feather these in because I know what we're testing. Now, once I have already written the TEKS for the other ones, written the assessments, I can go on and add those TEKS in. I do not add the formulas in until I have at least one student that has taken the assessment in USA Test Prep, because USA Test Prep downloads the TEKS in kind of weird order. I'm sure there's probably a logic to it, but I haven't figured it out yet. So I wait till one student's taken it, then I can download the document and I can see what column it puts those TEKS in, because it adds the category, the TEK, and it's just different orders. So I wait until I get one student to take it. Once they've taken it, I can then go in and add the formulas. Most of the time, that's not a big deal. If you only have one TEK a week, then you're going to know every single week what column your TEK is in, so you can just copy the formula over. Now, that being said, we have multiple ones, so a little more complex. I'll be happy to work with anybody that has questions about it. Let me go on and show you what the real document looks like that we actually used in the fall of last year. So because I made this FERPA friendly, I kind of shrunk their name columns so that you wouldn't see it. The only thing you're seeing is their student IDs. I, again, use the master roster for it. So I just pull their data from that. And then I'm able to I'm able to just copy and paste it. Now, once you copy and paste it, your data will go on and populate, assuming the formulas are already in there, which when your content captain sends you the document, everything should be ready. The only thing you need to do is add your ID numbers. Now, how do you use this document? Well, there's a couple of different things you are going to look at. Let me start by showing you what all this is at the top. At the top is information that's going to auto-populate about each column that you have here. Now, remember columns D and E, these are overall scores. Now, this one is a little more complex. It has more columns than the spring document does because we tested, we did the readiness, we did the fall star, which was the interim 2 that was the readiness just copied. And then we also did a fall final, which was again the same test. We just cut it down to 25 questions. So basically we had the same TEKS tested on all 3 of these. So by looking at the overall score, but we can see how the students did, how many were tested, you know, what the average was, that kind of information. I've got it broken down into 4 categories. And these are the way that STAR separates their grades, okay? So below is students that scored below 42, approaching is 43 to 61, meets is 62 to 77, and masters is above 78 and above. Now, anything above approaching is considered passing. Below is not passing, and they would have to redo the test. So that's kind of gives you an idea of where students are. So this, at the beginning of the semester, when I tested the readiness assessment, I had 54 students that tested below, 51 that tested approaching, 61 that tested meets, and 79 that tested masters. Now, 79 students that tested mastered is probably going to be GT students or high functioning, high level honor students. Since I do have honors and regulars, I'm gonna have that higher level of masters because the kids just are at that level. Now, below that, we're gonna have the number of students that didn't take the test. So anybody that shows up with an NA, meaning they didn't take it, is going to show right there. So I had 49 that didn't take it. The class average was 63, which, remember, this is at the beginning of the semester before they've ever even seen these TEKS. So 63 for class average is pretty good considering that they haven't learned anything yet. And then I had a total of 245 students tested. Okay. Now on the fall star, you're like, okay, why do I need to look at that? Well, you can see how much they've grown because remember, this was tested in December. This is the end of the semester test. And it was, excuse me, the same as the readiness. So I had 18 below, I had 7 approaching, 31 meets, and 139 that mastered. Now that is awesome. And that's exactly what we want to see. I went from 79 mastered to 139. That's an amazing feat because that means the kids are getting it, they're learning. If they tested on STAR right now with these TEKS, I would have almost all the students pass, okay? I had 99 that didn't take it. This wasn't a required assignment. This was mainly for the kids that wanted to be exempt. So I had 79 was the average. So I went from a 63 average to a 79 average. That's amazing. That means that the kids are getting it, that they're growing, that they're learning, and everything is the way it should be. And I had a total of 195 kids that took it. So that's pretty good considering, you know, looking at the growth. Now you're probably like, well, how am I going to use this in an everyday, you know, kind of thing? How am I going to use this to schedule kids? Well, what I'm going to tell you is let's look at one of these TEKS that was covered multiple times. So if we look right here, 7A and B were covered on the readiness, the STAR final, the fall final, snapshot 9, and snapshot 10. Okay. That was 5 attempts looking at the same TEK. Okay, so let's look at a student that maybe took this all 5 times. Let's see if I can find one that, let's see, my dog's scratching at the door. She wants in. All right, so here's a student that took it all 5 times. So, well, they took it 4 out of 5 times. It's hard to get one that took it all 5 times. And a lot of students that didn't take it on the final. All right, let me just go back up and show you. Maybe they didn't take it on the final. We'll just not look at that. We'll pretend we didn't see it. Okay, let's look at this student right here. Well, goodness. Here we go. This is a good example right here. So let's look at the student. So the first time they took this on the fall assessment, the readiness, they got a 0. Okay. That's okay. That's the beginning of the semester. We don't really expect a lot at that point. When they took it at the end of the semester, though, they got 100. So that's awesome. They didn't take it for the final, so probably were exempt. Now on snapshot 9, they got half of them correct. Okay, so that's growth from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. They got half of them correct. And then by snapshot 10, they had got all of them correct. So that's the kind of thing that you're looking at. You want to look and see how much they're growing from one time to another. Now, you're probably like, okay, that's great to look at it, but I'm not going to have all that data to start with. What you're going to do is you're mainly going to look at the readiness assessment. And when you're scheduling kids, you're going to look at this purple column. Say you want to schedule kids for, let's see, you want to schedule them for TEK 12 here. You're working on TEK 12. The reason there's some that are blank is because they were tested on, it was tested on a snapshot, but it wasn't tested on the readiness. So I just put the readiness there as, you know, kind of like a placeholder because all TEKs have the readiness, but it just shows that it wasn't tested there. That's why it's blank. So if y'all are like, why is there a blank one there? That's weird. Well, that's why. Okay, so on 12, we've got that one tested 4 times. Let's look at 13. 13 is tested like 6 times. 13A and B is tested like 6 times. Okay, so that being said, that's a lot. That's weird. Must not have the formula right for that because like nobody is on there. Let me see if that one's even tested on there. No, that one's, yeah, it's tested in column C. I probably have, yep, I do. I have the wrong information on here. See, not everything is perfect. Oh, I left the student ID numbers off of there. Oops, I don't know how I did that. That's why it stopped pulling for that one. That's weird. So everywhere there's a F2, I left student IDs off of it. Oopsies, so I'll have to go and recopy it, but that's okay. We'll just pretend it's there. So this was tested on the readiness, interim 1, star, snapshot 1, snapshot 2, and snapshot 6. So this is a very popular TEK that we test in a lot of different places. Okay, so you can look at it and go, oh, okay, look at all that data. So if you have questions about it, you can look and make comparisons. Now on snapshot 6, it looks like this was tested. Maybe there were 3 questions on there. That's why it's 30s. Because maybe they got 1 question right, or maybe they got 2 questions right, or they got all of them right. So that's why it's separated that way. If it's got 50 and 100, then obviously there was 2 questions. If it's 100 and 0, then there was only 1 question. So it kind of depends on how many questions are on your snapshot for that TEK as to how the grades are separated. All right, let me show you how you would use this for scheduling your kids. The first thing you're going to do is you want to click on the little drop down here. This is going to be a filter function, and depending on what you want is how you're going to filter this. So if I only want the kids that got 0 to 50, zeros and 50s, that means they got half of them, or maybe they got none of them correct. Or if you want the NAs, that's going to be the kids that didn't take it. You can schedule them too. So I would say, okay, so now it's just going to show me just these kids that scheduled like this. I had a filter on by accident. Let me clear it just so that we can see the differences here. Because this is a large document, anytime you go and start moving stuff around or changing things, it gets a little cranky and it takes a minute. All right. So the next thing you're going to do is, when you schedule these kids, remember we schedule A through K, and then we schedule L through Z. So the way I separate that in my grade book is I do the A through K as no color here, and then the L through Z I'll color a different way, so that when I go and I sort these, because now I've pulled the kids that didn't pass, but that's not really going to tell me the whole story. I really kind of have to narrow these down some. So what I'll do is I'll go over here to the overall score, and now I'll sort that from smallest to largest. So that way I can look at specific groups of people and be able to pull in their information. Because obviously, even if they missed that one question, if they got a 95 overall, I'm probably not going to pull them in unless I just don't have that many kids that had a problem on that. So it's kind of at your discretion. If you want to use this to pull in enrichment, you would obviously pull in the kids that got 100 on it, and then, the ones that passed that question. If you're wanting to pull in maybe the mid kids that maybe you just needed a couple of right answers to be finished, you can do that. If you look, I have a ton of kids here that, based on what I have, that did pretty well. Maybe I want to pull the kids that are in the 50s. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and sort these, and I'm going to sort them by color. I'm going to filter them by color. That way I'm only seeing half of the kids that I need. Because when I schedule these for those sessions, I'm only scheduling half of the kids. So I need 25 kids to schedule. Remember, that's how many kids are in a session. So maybe I want to get the lowest 25 kids, and that's okay. So what you can do is just copy those. And then what you're going to do is we are going to go into TVA, and then we're going to go over here to TV action. Maybe. There we go. Sign back in. So then we're going to go over here to TV action. And we're going to put in these student IDs. And we're going to see how many kids that is, because I'm not a math person and I don't count very well. Let me stop sharing real quick. Let me make this FERPA friendly, and then, oh, what? Okay, let me hide these student names really quick, and then I will reshare my screen. All right. I have made it FERPA friendly now. All right, so now you only see this. So I luckily grabbed 24 kids. That's the perfect amount of kids to grab. So I am going to click on those. And these are my 25 kids. Gonna go over here to this little hamburger thing. And then there's two options to schedule a CC. You can either add them to a new one if you don't have one already set up, or you can add them to an existing one. If you've already set up your CCs and didn't add any kids, you could do this one. If you haven't set anything up, you can just add the new one. And what that's going to do is that's then going to only add the kids that you just checked here. So obviously you're going to do small group because this is less than 25. And then you're going to schedule it. And then when you go to add participants, it's only going to show in this little box over here on the left, the kids that you just put in there. Now, I'm not going to show you that because it's not FERPA friendly, but just know that it's only going to add the 24 kids there that you had checked off on here. Okay. And if you needed one more, you could add one more to the list, hit search again, and then check them all. If you want exactly 25, that's the way to do it. And then what I would do is go back here. Now I've got my 25 there. I can switch it. You can hit clear the filter. And now you can filter it by no fill. So that's going to be all of the white cells rather than the purple ones. So by doing that, you're able to do that. And I know I look a little tired. I'm sorry. I've been sick this week. So if I look like I'm going to sleep, that's not the case. All right. So you do filter by color, and then you do no fill, and then that's going to pull all the white cells. Okay. And you do the same thing. You just pick however you want to your 25, just copy it, you know, that's probably more than 25. Just copy it. And then you go to TVA again, you hit clear, and then you paste in there. You paste your ID numbers in there, and then you hit search, and let's hope it doesn't pull up. Yeah, it just pulled up the ID numbers because I hid the other columns. Okay, so then you check it again. Now that's 40. We obviously don't need 40 people in there. So you would have to cut down some of that. My suggestion would just be to remove some of these and then hit search again, and then it'll tell you how many you pick. So now it's 28. So you just need to remove like 3 more. So just remove 3 more and hit search. Oh, look at that. I'm at the magic number. I'm at 25. So I can hit check, go over here, hit add my kids. If I was doing existing, I would just click the existing. And this is a little bit, what you would do would just be to search the date, say, okay, I'm scheduling for Tuesday at, you know, the 4th. So I would just click on the 4th and hit search. And then it's going to pull up your sessions you have here. You just click on the one you want and hit continue, and then it will go on and let you add them to that session. Okay. All right, guys. Well, that is it. I'm going to have a link that will be attached to wherever this video is for you guys to go so that you can fill out a little survey telling me if there was something that you wanted to see on there, something, you know, if you want your document to, if you want your team to have the document, whatever you want to do on there. And I can talk to your content captain, or if you're a content captain and you want training, I'll have a form for that. All right, guys. Well, if you don't have any other questions, you can, you're welcome to go. Otherwise, you can contact me. Again, I'm Miss C. Jenkins. I am the U.S. History Content Captain. And you can find me on Teams, or you can email me if you have anything. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your PD and have a great day.